Good afternoon, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Sunday afternoon, September 21st, 2014, around 5:58 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's been cloudy most of the day, but very humid. Highs peaked out around 75. We saw some sunshine, plus we saw some clouds and some rain showers. And tomorrow, for the first day of fall, it's going to be more of the same. But I heard temperatures going to be above average for this week. And next weekend, we could hit 80, providing if we get sunshine. Some news to report. The New England Patriots beat Oakland Raiders at Foxborough by the score of 16-9. The Patriots' offense was terrible, but their defense looked superb. They should have blew out the Raiders easily. And also, the Boston Red Sox beat the Baltimore Orioles by a score of 3-2 today, taking 2 out of 3 from the AL East champions. But these games are now meaningless for the rest of the year. The Red Sox are off tomorrow, and they play 6 more games, 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays and 3 against the New York Yankees at Fenway Park to finish this nightmare season. Let's hope they go on a 7-game winning streak so just they could build something on for next season. And that's about it on that. My next subject is about Superstation, WTBS. WTBS was a famous television station. It was the first superstation to be beamed across all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii. It showed general entertainment program, plus it showed some sporting events like WCW, the predecessors, Georgia Championship Wrestling, Gordon Soley, and Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, and also it was home to the Atlanta Braves for many years, even though the Braves were one of the worst teams when WTBS was in its peak in the mid-1980s. WTBS started out as Channel 17, a UHF station out of Atlanta, Georgia, signing on the air September 1st, 1967 as WJRJ-TV in Atlanta. And for the first 3 years, it was a very weak independent television station. It only was on the air from 4 p.m. through 11 p.m. every day of the week, showing old movies and old reruns. In 1970, Ted Turner bought Channel 17, and he rebranded it using the call letters WTCG. Turner Communications Group was the group he owned that owned the station, but they used the slogan, "Watch this channel grow," and it grew. And in the early 1970s, Channel 17 microwaved its signal through several parts of the southeast part of the United States, including North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. And some of the programming on Channel 17 during that time was reruns of Father Knows Best, I Love Lucy, Green Acres, The Lucy Show, The Andy Griffin Show, Leave It to Beaver, Star Trek, My Three Sons, and several other programming. And plus they showed old movies from the 1930s and 1940s. And also they showed the programming, sports programming, including Atlanta Braves baseball, which the team back in the 70s was the worst team in the National League in all of baseball. And also they showed Atlanta Hawks games for the NBA and Atlanta Flames games, and also Georgia Championship Wrestling hosted by Gordon Soley. And Channel 17 was getting more and more popular in the southern areas. And Ted Turner decided in 1976, late 1976, he was going to have his channel 17, WTCG, to be beamed across the United States. On December 17th, 1976, he made that promise as Channel 17 out of Atlanta was beamed via satellite on 4 cable systems, one in Grand Island, Nebraska, the other one Newport News, Virginia, another one Troy, Alabama, and the 4th one Newton, Kansas. And WTCG Channel 17 was the second cable network to go coast to coast through being beamed by satellite. The first one was HBO a year earlier. And WTCG was like getting more popular for weeks and months and years. It was going on all the cable systems in the United States. By 1978, it was in all 50 states, and WTCG Channel 17 was rebranded as WTBS on August 27, 1979. The call letters WTBS was actually from a radio station in Cambridge, Massachusetts that was owned by MIT University, and Ted Turner bought the call letters WTBS from MIT for a donation for the college MIT in Cambridge. And then this is when WTBS was starting to grow, with the Georgia Championship Wrestling getting popular. That was one of the first national wrestling programs. Going solely was shown all over the country. Also, around this time, WTBS was picking up reruns of shows like All in the Family and the Brady Bunch, and also Little House on the Prairie and Chips and Gilligan's Island and The Love Boat and many other comedies, including The Jeffersons and Maude and stuff like that. Around 1981, WTBS started to program their programs at 5 past the hour and 35 past the hour, called Turner Time. This was done because to show more shows and past the half hour or the beginning of an hour while it's still running, plus was making more advertisements for the station, and it continued to grow. And around 1982, WTBS carried NCAA college football. They were the first cable network to broadcast Division I college football live. And it grew, and a couple of years later, they broadcast the SEC for about like 7-8 years. Also around this time, Ted Turner bought the MGM movie library. He bought it, and he started to show it on WTBS, and they got high ratings, mainly on the prime time hours. They would always show a classic movie from the MGM library, and those got high ratings for WTBS. And also WTBS acquired the rights to broadcast NBA basketball games from USA Network and ESPN for the 1984 and 1985 season, and they showed a game of the week plus All-Star Weekend and the playoffs up to like the conference finals, and TBS ratings continue to grow and grow and grow. And also, in addition, the biggest programming on WTBS was the professional wrestling. That was the highest rated show, with like Georgia Championship Wrestling, then morphing into World Championship Wrestling in 1982, just to give it like a national feel. But on July 14th, 1984, that was Black Saturday, Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWE, bought time on WTBS, and he showed tapes of previously run WWE matches from the syndicated programming, All-Star Wrestling and Championship Wrestling. And the viewers got mad. They wanted Gordon Soley back. They got him back from 7:35 in the morning for a new group called Championship Wrestling from Georgia, but that didn't do good in the ratings. Also, TBS got Mid-South Wrestling, ran by Bill Watts, and it went through great ratings. In April of 1985, Vince McMahon sold his time slot on TBS to Jim Crockett Promotions for $1 million, and that funded WrestleMania 1. And Jim Crockett's Promotions, he took over the TBS time slot, and it was exclusively his wrestlers only for the Mid-Atlantic region, which became the top NWA promotion for the mid to late 1980s and stuff. And the wrestling was the number one draw on Saturday night, 6:05, plus they had a Sunday program and also a Saturday morning program, which was the best of World Championship Wrestling. Also, WTBS had like music videos late at night on Friday nights and Saturday nights for about 9 years. It was called Night Tracks, and sometimes they would play it overnight up to 7 hours on late Friday night, early Saturday mornings, and early late Saturday nights, early Sunday mornings, depending what was going on. If a movie was running late or a sporting event, the hours would be reduced and stuff like that. And I got WTBS for the first time in the late 80s, and I got hooked on the stuff with the programming they had, like reruns of the Brady Bunch and stuff like that, and the Andy Griffin Show, and the wrestling and the basketball and the other stuff. Got hooked on it. Also, WTBS showed NASCAR racing and stuff like that. And around 1988, 89, some of their programming, like the MGM movies and NBA basketball, shifted to a new network called TNT, which I'll talk about that in a future blog. And the programming on WTBS, it started to be branded as just TBS. They dropped the W, but it was TBS Superstation. It was going to more comedy stuff for reruns and now the movies and stuff like that. And they still had Braves baseball. The Braves got good in the 90s, and that catapulted the ratings up for it. They actually showed Atlanta Hawks basketball games again for a few years. They dropped the football and stuff like that, and the WCW was still their main draw, and it catapulted them to the ratings and stuff like that, and TBS became one of the most popular cable networks in all of cable TV. And they still had the Atlanta feed. The Atlanta feed still had the WTBS Channel 17. They showed the same programming that Superstation WTBS did and stuff like that. And eventually Superstation TBS dropped the Superstation in the late 1990s and stuff. And mainly now they just play reruns of comedy stuff. Comedy like shows from the past, and also they have original comedies, and also they have some of the sporting events, which is mainly the Major League Baseball playoffs and select regular season games, and also the NCAA men's basketball tournament. They're going to be the home of the exclusive home for the Final Four and the NCAA championships in 2016, which is going to be a joint venture for TBS and Turner Sports and CBS, which this is proving to be a fruitful experience. And I used to like TBS when it showed the reruns of the Andy Griffin Show, Brady Bunch, cartoons like Tom and Jerry and the Hanna-Barbera things, and the pro wrestling and the Atlanta Braves baseball, but they're all gone now, and it's one of the best cable networks of all time. But now it's basically just a comedy channel, which, you know, you see some of the shows reran that they have on maybe several different cable networks, and that gets old quickly. It gets old quickly. You see a show on one cable network, and five other cable networks have it. It just gets repetitive. I know they can't show old reruns of stuff again, because that would get old quick. They're probably going to have to develop the original programming, maybe even a weekday afternoon for it, which would be fine by me. And that's about it on that. I'll be back later for my third and final video blog of the night, which will be about Baseball Hall of Fame manager Joe Torre. See you later, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Bye now.